Now, this would have to be carefully investigated. Now, my own investigations tell me that most of the land that Israel claims has been stolen from the Arabs. They have no claim to. They have no claim to it. They were just simply expelled. It is a question whether that can be rectified right now. Look, I have no doubt, for instance, that most millions of Germans have property rights to land in Czechoslovakia or in Poland. They can show titles that go back sometimes hundreds of years, and they have not received it back. That's a matter of prudence. Not all injustice can be rectified. But it is important to recognize that injustices have been done. My parents have been expropriated in East Germany. When my mother was East Albion Junker. So when Germany was reunited, then we thought we would get our property back. We had titles to the property that extend to before the 30 Years' War, which is long because most of the documents in Germany were destroyed during this period of time, so very few people can trace their property titles before that. We could just prove all the monies that had been paid and so forth. The land was not given back to us. The land was taken over by the West German government, who basically finished, so to speak, what the Soviets had begun in 1946. The property was valued at several $1 million, and we have received, after 15 years of waiting, 100,000 euros as compensation for this. People went to the Supreme Court, said the Constitution in Germany guarantees private property rights, and they said yes, they do, but not at market value. So we will give you a compensation and just be happy with it. Now, again, you see, like, I feel that a grave injustice has occurred to my family. I think I would be entitled to shoot Helmut Kohl, who was in charge at that time, dead. But it would not be a wise thing for me to do this. You know, I could not give lectures like this for very long anymore if I would take justice in my own hand. But of course, he has deserved it. Out of prudence, I just let it go. I'm a generous person, but he deserves it. And yes, the situation in Israel is similar. Yes, grave injustices have occurred there. There existed very few Jews at the time, far more Arabs. With terrorist means, the Arabs were expelled and are still not allowed to return to the place where they were born and all the rest of it. Whereas every Jew from all over the world who has never touched Israel is allowed to come, according to the law of returns, to these places and occupies places to which Arabs have titles and can show it. This is, of course, unjust. There are many injustices in the world, and we cannot rectify them all, but we have a theory that allows us to determine there something bad has happened, there something bad has happened. There are also many bad things that have happened where we cannot trace it back. The longer these injustices, the longer the time span is that these injustices have occurred, the more difficult it becomes to point out who the legitimate claimant is. For instance, the expropriations that took place, let's say in Poland and Czechoslovakia and Germany and so forth after 1945, many of the documents exist still. The expropriations that took place in 1917 in Russia, most of those documents have disappeared. And of course, whoever claims that he is a legitimate owner has the burden of proof. First, we take the position whoever occupies a place right now has prima facie the owner of it, unless somebody else can show that he in fact is not the right owner. And the longer you go back in time, of course, the more impossible this sort of thing becomes. So for instance, in America, this is also a big issue about Indian rights. What did people do to the Indians? There existed legitimate transfers, that is, people really bought land from the Indians. There existed cases where the Indians were expelled from their land. There existed cases where the Indians did not really own the land. They were just hunters and gatherers. They were just roaming around and did not even have a concept of property right in land. So that you cannot claim that anything has been taken away from them if somebody would have settled there. These issues are enormously complicated, and because they are back 150 years or so, it is practically impossible to solve individual claims in a just way.